Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kellie.
It's a big day, Kellie. Do you know what today is?
No.
It's episode 124.
Oh, that's kind of not fun.
I mean, it's fun. That's so many episodes. Oh my god.
Your delivery was fun.
Thanks.
But the actual, content, the messaging.
Yeah. That's what I say to my UPS guy every time he drops a package off. I say, your
I'm sure
delivery
you do.
was fun, but the contents of this box, not fun. That's not true.
Right.
I got a box. I had 4, count them, 4 amiibos on my doorstep this morning.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like,
That's exciting.
now that I have a job for the time being, I've been slowly trying to buy amiibos that I couldn't afford when they came out. And I'm trying to find them on eBay and stuff. And Nintendo did a restock. So I got a Charizard and a Squirtle and a Greninja. And then I got a Ryu from eBay. And I got a Chibi Robo from eBay. So I've been stocking up. I bored Kellie. So.
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't you. It's just been a long week at work.
Uh-huh. It's Wednesday.
Well, exactly.
So it's going to keep going.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop. And then it's woohoo, it's Saturday. And then you're like, oh my God, it's Sunday. And then all of a sudden it's Monday again.
Yeah, then all of a sudden it's Wednesday and you're yawning on a podcast about the amazing news that's happening in the video game industry that's exclusively good.
Right. No bad news. Oh, psych. There's actually lots of bad news.
There's
Sorry.
good news this week, though. We have some really, really good news. It's just...
Sure.
But it has to be balanced out, I guess.
Sure. So we'll start with the bad, just to get it out of the way. More layoff news. Sony has laid off 900 PlayStation employees and has closed their London studio. That's a lot of people. We say the same things every week now about these layoffs. There's really no... there's really no way around it. There's no more that we can say that hasn't already been said. This feels very significant because it's Sony. Microsoft was in EA, and it's just been really rough. So, there
it
was
makes
also
because they laid off people from Insomniac, and Spider-Man 2 just sold a super measly and unimpressive and meaningless 10 million copies.
Right.
Which is terrible, obviously, which is why they had to lay off a chunk of their workforce.
It's not even, it's just performance doesn't matter in this industry. No. It's just, you just get laid off without any sort of warning, or I'm sure people now are more wary because there have been layoffs, so they have some idea, maybe some idea, but certainly not, a concrete concept that they're going to be the next ones who are laid off. And I'm sure that management does nothing to comfort them or be honest with them, because we all know management in the video game industry, the curtain has been lifted, so to speak. Management is not good. But, is management good in any industry? Really?
Well, the fact that Jim Ryan on his victory lap tour of a bunch of PlayStation tours studios, that was difficult, visited London studio a week ago, literally days before he announced that he was laying all those people off and shutting down their studio. He did it. And I know he's still that, we're all oh, Jim Ryan, but he's still there. He's not gone till April. And the fact that this is going to be his last move, it's fitting at least, but ugh.
Yeah. I also have to say, I feel there's no solidarity among anybody notable in the video game industry, notable figures. I feel there's no solidarity. I feel these people who are being hung out to dry get no backup or support from anybody beyond the people who they're following. You know what I mean? It's just sad to see. And in my opinion, it was you've got these big studio heads who obviously aren't going to say anything, but then you've got people who are influencers in their own right.
Are you talking about Jeff Keighley?
Jeff Keighley,
Okay.
who just like doesn't say anything. It's like he's such, and I think I said this on air last week, but he's such a bootlicker. It's like, it is disgusting. And it's like, you don't even realize how nasty and disgusting it is until something like this happens, and has continually been happening since like last year, that it's like, it's insidious. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't even say one thing. You can't say a single thing because you're so afraid that you're going to break this tenuous relationship that you have with these studios. It's like, it's so gross. It's so gross.
I mean, another story we'll talk about in a minute that was positive he tweeted about, but the nature of it was a direct result of the Microsoft layoffs. So it's like, he's clearly just talking about what he wants to talk about that makes things look good. So,
right.
Another negative thing, not nearly as bad, but still pretty bad. Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto makers, are now forcing all their employees to come into the office 5 days a week. This is an attempt to reduce leaks. I think that this sounds like not the biggest news in the world, but as a hybrid employee who really values remote work, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
You can't change people's workflow like this.
I know. I think it's very archaic, but I think that it speaks to Rockstar's inability to like catch up with the times.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, I think most people listening to this show can attest to some degree that remote work is probably here to stay, and that they enjoy it, and that it is a better workflow for work-life balance. We don't, not to, get on my soapbox or anything, but like, we're not supposed to, like, we don't live to work. You know what I mean? And this just signals to me that like, and obviously Rockstar, notorious for its crunch on every title that they've released. So this, I can understand the trepidation that these people are probably experiencing. And I just wonder, like, I'm not sure if they were doing a hybrid thing, but it's like, what about people who maybe moved away?
That's what I thought about,
like,
yeah.
Do they get to stay remote? Are they going to get fired? Are they going to be asked to move back? It's like, I don't know. That's one of those things that people maybe don't consider as much, or they consider it, they just don't care.
Hopefully they step back on this, because they are getting a lot of flack and blowback, but I don't know. It's clearly a silly decision to make. Like, lots of these people probably live like an hour commute away, and those were 2 hours every day that they were saving to either spend with their family or maybe just do a little more work. You work an extra hour instead of commuting for 2, and now that time's going to be gone. And I also feel like it's much easier to fall into that crunch culture when you're in an office. So even though I know they've been reportedly been doing a lot better with crunch culture, but it's really easy to undo that in an office space.
Yeah, absolutely. In other news, shifting to the world of Nintendo, where there's some heat happening right now. I'm trying to
spicy.
Build suspense. Yeah. They are suing the creators of the Nintendo Switch emulator Yuzu, which I'm also pretty sure they're suing the people who make Citra, which is a 3DS emulator as well. They're suing them for a lot of money, basically saying that, you can't emulate these games. It's illegal.
Bad.
And Nintendo's not messing around. They have put a guy in jail before
Mr.
for
Bowser.
emulation. Mr. Gary Bowser, which, like, come on, dude. You can't have that last name and be imprisoned by Nintendo. That's crazy. This is kind of crazy. I think the Switch one, to me, like, okay, I kind of get it. Listen, I'm not saying anything like I'm not telling you to go do anything illegal, but like, I think about the 3DS one, and it's like, that platform doesn't really exist outside of the physical realm anymore.
Not at all.
There are certain things that you just can't play anymore, because the eShop is also not existent anymore. And I think Nintendo's kind of draconian about this sort of stuff. And by kind of, I mean quite draconian about this kind of stuff. there is precedent for this. Like, other companies have sued emulators before. It just feels kind of intense. Like, whoa. Like, I thought we were all having fun. You know?
I feel like the argument confuses me because an emulator is not responsible for the pirating itself. Like, the emulator didn't send out Tears of the Kingdom copies. That was pirating, which is like, that's a different can of worms. If Nintendo went and took down a site that was distributing Tears of the Kingdom for free pre-launch, okay, I'm not going to get, like, that makes some sense at least.
Sure. But wouldn't a cease and desist suit better?
I would think at least for Yuzu, for the emulator itself, yeah. But apparently the courts disagree. Or I guess Yuzu. I don't know how settlements work. Do you know? Does this mean Yuzu and Nintendo both agreed on this number?
I guess settlements would be like if Nintendo was like, Yuzu, you can't run any, you can't allow emulated games on your platform anymore. And we'll give you this amount of money, and you'll give us this amount of money, and we'll stop talking about it, and we won't sue you. Or
that's what happened.
Would be,
that's the update.
Oh, well, I didn't see the update.
Yeah, $2.4 million settlement was reached. Nintendo is getting $2.4 million from Yuzu.
Wow. Well, there it is, folks.
I think it's still odd.
It is odd. And I think Nintendo's just one of those... Nintendo's kind of a different breed about this kind of stuff. They're really, really strict about copyright.
I think...
From the music to the gameplay to... It's a different animal with Nintendo.
Speaking of animals, I'm going to have my eyes very closely on Dolphin, which is the GameCube and Wii emulator.
Yeah.
If they're in trouble, that's a much bigger problem in my eyes. Because the thing for me is the Switch emulator shouldn't be removed necessarily, but it's an active platform, so I understand why they're way more adamant about taking it down. But Dolphin is a platform for games that are no longer distributed. If that gets taken down, I think we have bigger problems on our hands.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes on that one.
I also think, just to put a pin in this, I think that it's sort of an interesting environment that we're in, and kind of how I mentioned earlier, like the DS and the 3DS only exists in the physical realm now. Now a lot more games are just digital. A lot of things are just digital. When you purchase something digitally, sometimes you don't even really own it. So it's kind of like, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? What does that mean for piracy? What does that mean for ownership? What does that mean for copyright? Like, I think these are just discussions that maybe will be happening as more and more platforms go to digital only or predominantly digital. So... kind of crazy.
I'm happy to say that we have good news for the rest of the show.
Yippee!
Toys for Bob, the studio that we reported shutting down last week, they're not. This is not Microsoft's doing. This is actually an independent movement, so they're going independent. They have stated that they are going to maintain their relationship with Microsoft. So I think it's, in my opinion, fair to say there's still a pretty darn good chance that Toys for Bob will still be making Crash Bandicoot games and maybe Spyro games, which is kind of weird. It's weird that they're like, they got shuttered and then they were like, oh, never mind, we're free. But they're like, but we're going to like still work with them. And I'm like, that's like if you like were in a relationship with a wildly toxic ex and the toxic ex broke up with you and then you were like, okay, so we're completely single now. We are good to go, but we're gonna still live together.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what?
I guess my thoughts are, and I don't need to tell you this because you know this, but it's like, I guess they just really can't afford to have a bad relationship with Microsoft because
they can't pay rent.
They can't pay rent. Exactly.
In this metaphor, I should say.
And it's kind of, it would be cool if they were able to break off and do their own thing on a different platform. But I think just in today's space, you kind of have to be a lot more flexible with where you're bringing your games, especially games like Crash Bandicoot.
I I just hope that they didn't have to pay much. That this is maybe just kind of like oh, well, we're shuttering you so you can be independent. Don't worry about money. But it's hard to say. Because the next couple stories we have are very similar, but they have money, like real money attached to them. Whereas this one did not have any mention of money, so who knows?
Right. Like our next studio, Gearbox, creators of the Borderlands series. They're separating from the Embracer Group, and are reportedly on sale. That's kind of crazy.
We should buy it.
I think we will.
Didn't we make this joke before?
Maybe.
About Gearbox?
I don't know if it was specifically about Gearbox, but never mind.
Oh, we did, because when it was going for sale, because it was up for sale for 1.3 billion, right? And we were like, we should buy it, but then Embracer bought it. They beat us to the punch.
Yes, you're right. That is what happened.
But now we can make the joke again.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are worth less than they were bought for 3 years ago.
Yeah. I just saw an interesting article right underneath this article.
Related?
Nope, not at all. Not related in one in any type of way.
Is it a dating site where women message first? Because that's the first thing that appears under my article.
Oh, well, that's your cookies business. That's your search history's business. I see 12 years ago, Mass Effect 3's ending was ahead of its time.
Wow.
Which is kind of a hot take, but the game came out 12 years ago, so.
Do you know what that take is hotter than?
What?
Saber Interactive.
Oh.
Also a subsidiary of Embracer. They're escaping. They're becoming their own thing for $500 million. A group of private investors is acquiring it, which I think is a kind of weird way of saying they're going sort of indie. I'm assuming they'll still work with lots of big publishers, but this is another big deal. Maybe that Knights of the Old Republic remake will happen someday.
Sure.
But it's good that they're independent regardless. Like, I'm very happy that because last week I made a comment. I'm like, why aren't these studios like being given the opportunity to escape Embracer? And then, twice this week we've seen that happen. And I hope, and Toys for Bob obviously escaping Microsoft. I'm hoping that this is a trend, because seeing this happen 3 times in a week is kind of crazy. So I'm very hopeful that this is a sign of things to come.
Yes, absolutely. Did you like that I said absolutely?
I'm going to pull my phone out and pretend we're not talking.
Oh, okay. Well, some other good news. Remedy has acquired full rights to its Control franchise. Control.
Why did...
It's not really a franchise. It's one game, is it not?
No, yeah, I guess it's just the IP.
So why do they call it a franchise?
Well, I guess they're working on the I forgot about the multiplayer game.
Oh, yeah. Control, codenamed Condor. Control 2, and all future Control products will revert to Remedy.
I'm happy.
Yippee!
I don't think I knew that they were not in control of Control.
All right.
That wasn't a bit. I mean, it was funny,
No.
but like I didn't know that they didn't have Control.
No, pack it up. Pack it up. I've heard enough.
Well, have you heard enough about Pokemon Legends Z?
No, I actually haven't. I still haven't watched this trailer. I'm
Oh.
watching it right now.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just a cinematic. It doesn't tell you anything. Game Freak announced during their Pokemon Presents that they are making a new Pokemon Legends game, ZA, to launch in 2025. Z. Do you guys remember Pokemon X and Y, and how there was a Pokemon Z that was like maybe in development, but then they pushed aside and then maybe fell to the wayside? Well, apparently it's happening now. Years later. I think. Okay, I'll start positive before I let Kelly be negative. I do think Well, it's not. They skipped Gen 5 and went to Gen 6 for the new Legends game. And last week we were talking about how much you would like a Gen 5 Legends game. So, but Lumio City, which is like the Paris equivalent, seems to be the center of this game. It's not entirely clear what is going on, but it appears it might be taking place in the past and the future. And also they said that the entire game takes place within the city. So I'm very curious to see what that means, what this game will look like. I think Legends Arceus was the best Pokemon game in years. I think the formula is like a breath of fresh air for the series, so another one is exciting. And I am personally excited by that 2025. I'm going to hope it's so that they can have that extra year of development and not just because the Switch 2 got delayed. Because I feel like it might not actually be cool. If it's coming to Switch 2 and Switch 1 the same day, it would make sense to just postpone it to 2025.
Yeah.
But hopefully they're just spending that extra time because they want to.
Right. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, not. But it looks. I mean, there's no footage of the game. It was just a cinematic teaser. Kelly, do you have thoughts based on the fact that Unova got stepped over, and do you have thoughts based on the idea of the game on its own?
I think it's interesting that they skipped over Gen 5. I don't really know why. Maybe there's something in the works going on at the same time, simultaneously. Because we know that Legends and the last Legends game and the last remake that they did kind of came out within a couple months. So they could feasibly be working on something at the same time. I think that, speaking to what it actually is, I'm not enthralled with the concept of it. I liked Legends Arceus, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this has changed my life, so I like the Legends gameplay doesn't 100% capture me. And I think Kalos as a region is kind of bland.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this game could add a little bit more flavor and add a little bit more excitement to Gen 6. But the truth of the matter is, like, after what Gen 5 was, I felt like Gen 6 was very forgettable. Everything about it, I feel like the MCs were forgettable. I feel like the professor was not forgettable, but I feel like the villains were forgettable. I feel like the gym leaders were forgettable. I feel like it was just like...
But I feel like that might be a good reason to revisit it, because if it's France, there's a lot of opportunity there, and revisiting it in a more grand scale could provide some interesting stuff, especially if it's like... Because like the prequel stuff... The old lore of X and Y is like this crazy war. They could lean into that. I don't think they will, but they could.
Right. My thinking is I don't think they'll lean into it either. And I think that it would be cool if it was on a grander scale. But to me, like, it being only in the city is kind of like, how are we going to do this?
I guess that doesn't scare me, because I think based on like the scale of Arceus, I'm like, okay, they have just something cooking. Like, it's not going to... Because I heard that for a second, I was like, that sucks, because Lumio City is, like, ultimately kind of small in X and Y, but I'm like, okay, but it's not going to be... They're not going to do that. Like, that game would take 13 minutes to finish if it was that.
Sure. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I think it'll be small. I just think that it would... I think they have a chance to do something really cool, but I don't think they're going to do something really cool. That's all. I'm not optimistic about, just based on what it is. I'm just not optimistic about the potential.
I guess I am optimistic, so the other side will be the coin, the both sides of the coin, and I think that's going to be hard to have any more discussions about it till we see gameplay footage. So Once we see it, I think it'll be very clear what we're all feeling.
Yes. And you know what other game some gameplay footage would be just like awesome for?
I don't know. What game are you, Kelly, excited for? I can't think of a single one that you could possibly be excited for.
Well, there's a sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition coming up. It's called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. You might have heard me talk about it before.
I don't think I'm familiar.
Well, we got a little tease in December that we were going to hear more in this summer, which is quickly approaching. And some leaks have been implying that we are going to see this game in 2024, which is kind of crazy. I think that this kind of tracks, though. I think it'll be a really... I mean, this game has been in development for a really long time, and I will say it did have to sort of restart halfway through, which certainly added more time. But I think that this is kind of crazy. I think there is a non-zero chance that it gets delayed till early 2025. But I am cautiously optimistic because I feel like if we see something in the summer, as we've been promised, a very short marketing turnaround could be a really good move for BioWare right now. Just because they need some goodwill, because their last game that came out was Anthem, which was bad. No offense to any Anthem fans out there. And
There's
yes,
literally not one of them.
there is. Look at the Anthem subreddit and you will see. You will see.
I'm going to see how many active users and then we'll see.
But all of this to say that if this is true, I'm so excited. I can't even really express how I feel because I feel it's, and I think it's, it's all lining up, okay? It's all lining up in my head. Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014. It came out in like November 2014, I think. No, it must have been earlier than that because I'm sure I was playing it in the summer. Well, it doesn't matter. It came out in 2014. That's 10 years ago. And you know what this year is? It's the year of the dragon in the Chinese zodiac. So it's almost like it's all falling into place. And the person who typically... the person who sort of leaked this, quote unquote, or hinted at it, he has been correct about many things in the past. So I think that there are signs pointing in this general direction. I don't want to get too excited. I eagerly await whatever we're going to see this summer because I felt like even that little tiny tease we got in December was really exciting. And I think that I just really want to dig in.
I would like to say you're welcome. Because last week I made fun of you for how silly it would be for this game to come out this year.
Right.
And I did that so that this would happen.
Well, I really appreciate you doing that because you're right. That's the only reason it's happening.
Yep. You're welcome.
Not like they said that they were going to talk about it in the summer or that it's been in development for like 10 years or that. Right. It was you saying that truly changed the tides.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Kelly, I know you are a big Kunitsugami fan. You're the biggest Kunitsugami head I know.
Yes.
This game that has not released yet.
Yes.
This is that new game from Capcom. We saw it at Xbox Showcase in the summer.
Sure.
We got
it all blends together.
We got a new trailer today. First time we've seen it since its reveal. I don't know. I thought this game was just gonna be like an action game, maybe with multiplayer elements. That's incorrect. It is a single player game, so that's good. It is a like a city, like a town builder, and a tower defense game. So you like build up your city and like get rid of like corruption and help people, and then at night they'll help you fight off the attackers, the evil yokai.
Right. The defilement.
The defilement.
Yes.
And also you can play, like during that raid, you can also do action. So it's like an action game, but your town is being defended by the units that you placed and helped. I did not expect that. I just thought we had an action game on our hand.
It seems very intricate, like very intricate systems happening here.
It seems intense.
You must guide the maiden along the path.
That's too much for me. I'm not good at guiding maidens.
Me neither, if that makes you feel any better.
It does. I think this game looks really interesting. I don't know if it gets like really positive reviews, I'll probably play it. There's a character that has like a uvula in the front of his mouth, like a giant creature with a flopping uvula.
Yeah, I see that.
That part makes me not want to play it. But it looks really interesting. It's more interesting now because I'm like, that's such a weird concept. So I hope there's some like really good through lines and it's not too samey as you work through it. But I won't have to worry about how much it costs because it is launching on day one on Game Pass.
I heard that you can wishlist it now.
That would be silly of me because it's on Game Pass.
I hear that you can play it day one on Game Pass. Hey, guess what else is coming out on Game Pass?
So I was supposed to guess?
Oh. Well, yes.
Tak and the Power of Juju.
No, but that was a great guess because this game is similar. Hey, remember how Persona 3 had a whole DLC that was, a whole expansion that was like, here's what happens after the game. And you're like, oh my God, it's the answer. Well, shocking to literally no one. They, being Atlas, are releasing the answer for Persona 3 Reload. Yay! Everybody cheer!
This is another deal. I'm going to let you finish talking, but like, you and I have such differing Persona 3 perspectives. So I want to hear what you have to say about it, and then I'll share. So go ahead first.
Yes.
And
so
also it's coming.
Yes, Game Pass on September 7th. I'm sorry, just September.
Oh,
I don't know why I said 7th. Sorry. They're doing a whole expansion pass of DLCs. Comically, 2 of the expansions being costumes and music. Wow. And then the third one is the answer. So it's a nice little pin bow on the story of Persona 3, except unless you play Persona 4 Arena, Ultimax, which also has Persona 3 characters, Persona 3 Dancing All Night, yes. PQ, PQ2. The story of Persona 3 really never ends. Just kidding. The answer is kind of the definitive, like, boom, we're done, except for Arena, but some people don't count Arena because it's kind of like the characters are so different. Anyway, the point is that this is coming out in September and you can play it day one on Game Pass, and it's all free on Game Pass for people who play on Game Pass, which is me and Andrew.
First of all, I'm very surprised it's on Game Pass. Game Pass does not get DLC almost ever. So it coming to Game Pass shocks me because that seems like a great opportunity to get people really hooked into Persona 3 Reload and then charge them for the answer. I mean, I would have paid for it. I was fully prepared to pay for it because there were rumors of this. I'm happy it's DLC and not a new version, because that would be very annoying to have to pay for an entirely new version just for the answer. I do think that this release date is a little silly because I'm sure it is already done. So I'm like, can we just have it like now? Please. But hey, they gotta warm us up with all of that really exciting expansion pass content of costumes.
Right.
And also, so I'm like deep into Persona 3 Reload now. Like I hit the 40-hour mark yesterday. I'm getting near the end. I'm in the last act, I would say, probably. So I really want the answer. And the thing is like now that I know for sure it's coming to it's coming to Reload. I'm not going to watch it online. I'll wait. But I do wish it was quicker. But I'm excited. Right. I'm happy it is coming, even if it is kind of like feels like it may have been like ripped out to be sold.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's pretty definitive.
I feel like if it could have come out in like May, that would have been awesome. But in May we're getting costumes, so that's
yay!
Even more
I'm gonna reopen Persona 3 Reload after beating it, so I can put on costumes.
Unless you're like me, who's only like 30 hours into the game.
You will be done by September, though.
No, because I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate again, and then I'm gonna play Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which is coming out in September. So I won't be able to play the answer. I'm just kidding. I'm joking, you guys. It's a joke.
The answer is like 10 hours ish, right?
I guess it depends on how you play, but yeah, it's not super long.
Okay.
It's well, there's only so much I can say.
I mean, it's called Episode Igus now. Was it always called Episode Igus?
In Japan, it was called Episode Igus, and then they changed the answer for the U.S. release, well, the North American release, to be the answer, because when they retroactively made it the answer, and then the original story was called The Journey. So
okay, which I mean, I don't think the naming matters that much.
No,
because it's also all bundled under the expansion pass, which is what you call DLC these days. Even
right?
If it's a little silly.
Right.
I think it would have been more interesting to just call it the answer, or call it Episode Igus, and not call it an expansion pass. But oh well.
Yeah, I think they should have just called it the answer. And I feel like there are certain elements that they're sharing that I feel like maybe it's too much. Like, let's pause. I get it. The game is old. It's a very old game. But some things I'm like, maybe we're saying too much right now for people who are freshly experiencing Persona 3.
I mean, I know that it's a sequel, and I know that it's called Episode Igus, and right. I know a few things that I wish I didn't, but like, that's fine.
Excuse me.
So I'll be very curious. And like, I didn't watch the trailer because I don't want to see anything.
Yeah, that's for the best. There's a lot that happens in the answer that's very like, oh.
I mean, even one still I saw, I was like, why would you? I don't know what that is. Don't show me that.
Characters will be defamed. Characters will be defended. It gets kind of crazy. It gets kind of crazy in the answer. It's just a different animal. But it's great. I think if you like the cast of Persona 3, it really, really expands on them in ways that like other Persona expansions, quote unquote, don't necessarily do as much.
Yeah.
If you're a big Akihiko fan like me, oh yeah, baby. We're eating good. We're eating good.
Akihiko, yeah. Wait,
Akihiko, yeah.
That was difficult for me to say.
I love Akihiko. I really do.
I guess since we're talking about Persona 3, we could do
Sorry.
That's the second time you've done that. I
know.
But wait, we weren't recording for the first one.
So it's the first time, actually.
Yeah, it didn't happen before. Don't listen to me. I'll just update real quick. Like I said, I'm 40 hours in. I'm near the end-ish. Well, it starts in April. I'm like over 2/3 of the way.
Sure.
I'm at the October boss. Or sure. No, I'm at the October. I have to go through Tartarus, so I got like 3 or 4 hours to spend in Tartarus. Sure. My updated thoughts are that this is a PlayStation 2 game.
Those are not updated. Those are the same thoughts you had last week.
Yes, but like they've been reinforced. I'll say this. Tartarus, I understand that it is way better than it used to be. But when I enter Tartarus, I do turn on YouTube videos on my phone.
You turn on Subway Surfers and Family Guy clips?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah. And Persona 3. I need everything.
Right.
No, it's kind of grindy. Not like to level up, just like floor after floor after floor after floor, and it's the same loop for like 3-ish hours to get from, whatever floor you're on to the highest available floor at that particular evening. And because it's grindy, I have just fallen back on turning on YouTube to engage my brain because I do not feel that it is necessarily the most engaging gameplay loop. That being said, it is satisfying. It is fun on kind of like a monkey brain level. Feels good to go up, watch number get bigger, both of the floor and of your level. And I have, every time before I go in, I you can pay a fortune teller to increase the rare encounter rate. And that provides you plenty of experience so that you don't have to walk around and grind it all. And if you get to the later floors and you are like, I don't want to fight these enemies, you can skip some and you will not be punished. So yeah, I'm getting through it. I think that the non-combat stuff is very, very fun. I love that loop a lot. The school stuff is fun. I'm frustratingly close with the social links. Like, I'm so close to having them all, but I know I won't be able to do it. It makes me so mad.
It's hard in 3. I feel like it's really a delicate, because in Like 4 and 5, you can start your teammates' social links without needing certain stats. Most of them, I think.
And that's the thing.
And then you get to 3 and it's like you can't talk to anyone until you're maxed out. And then you're like, oh my God. And then by the time you max out, you're like, am I gonna have enough time to like fully do this social link?
I have
and
plenty
granted,
of time
that's only the girls on your team, but it's also like that's a good point. There's a lot of characters in 3, and you know, some of them get kind of, you have to like figure it's, and when you're playing it for the first time, you don't understand like, okay, here's how many days I have off at school, so I have to prioritize school social links, and here's who I have on Sundays, and here's who I have to, and I only have so many Sundays in the game, and here's who's open. It's like it's a level of prioritizing that doesn't necessarily exist in the other titles.
And if you have played the other titles, you'll have if this is your first, it's probably going to be kind of intense. If you played the others, you'll at least have some knowledge going in. Especially like, because I played Persona 5 Royal or last year, and I like prioritized that game to heck and back. So I have that mentality already. Just the thing that's frustrating is like there's a lot of time where you're not in school in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So like now I'm going to have no trouble leveling up the teammates all the way, but in turn I'll probably have to sacrifice a couple school social links.
Yeah,
which is
and the
frustrating.
game doesn't like tell you that.
The game does
isn't like
not
you're
tell
gonna
you how
have
much
so
school,
much time off from school.
And like the week
oh.
before finals, no one's around. I'm like, why?
Yeah, and there's anyway, we don't have to get into it, but it's like it is a lot.
And the thing is there's some links, like for me, I have found the Sunday links super easy. I mean, it's only 2, and so if it was Sunday, I did that. You know, that's what I did on Sundays, and like the one I finished, and the other I'm like, I looked at the calendar. I have like 8 Sundays left, and I have that character at 7, so I only need 3 of those days. And then the nighttime social links are really easy because there's only 2, and you have lots of nights. So, and I mean, there might be more. I don't know. I only have had 2. But nighttime specifically makes me frustrated because there's not a ton to do every night.
Especially once you max your stats.
And my stats have been maxed since like September in the game. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I wish I could spend this time like talking to those school. I mean, obviously that would take some restructuring and that wouldn't be faithful to the original, but I wish I could level up some friends at night.
It would be great if you could go to the shrine at night and pay for the little relationship booster.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, you're not allowed to go to the shrine at night unless you're walking Koromaru.
But that doesn't allow you to do that.
Right.
I personally think that if you could do the girl teammates in the daytime or at nighttime, that would be all I need. That would be all I need to make it manageable. That one switch, those 3 social links being available at night, would make all the difference, I think.
Right.
So
I think that I don't want to say too much. I think that the themes of the game sort of align with the gameplay in certain regards. But that's not something that someone who's playing for the first time understand or knows or is meant to know.
No.
And I feel like I'm a lot less further, and I'm like 30 hours in. I'm in July. Like that little remix I did.
July.
July. Am I? No, I'm in August. No, I'm in July. Yes, but it's summer vacation. Yippee! I feel like, I will say, as someone who played the original Persona 3, I feel like the improvements that they made in this game, you can't really appreciate them unless you've played the original Persona 3. And it's like even small stuff, like the trip that you go on in July, it was so terrible in the original 3 that it's like you cringe now. And they made it so much better. And I also feel like the gameplay improvements, like, it's so much better when you have the context of the original because you can really appreciate it more. So I completely understand what you're saying, like it being a PlayStation 2 game, because at its core, that's what it is. I also feel like Tartarus, like, to me, I'm having a great time. Like, I really enjoy the grindy nature of Tartarus, but that's because I played the original Tartarus, which was like,
I think, the perspective of, like, you're coming into it having gone through, like, the true grind, like the full-on screwdriver to your teeth grind. Whereas I am coming from Persona 5, which has very catered dungeons that are designed and not procedural. And I know it has the Mementos procedural.
I was going to say, I feel like there were features in Mementos that they really could have implemented in 3. The one that I'm thinking of mainly is when you get Ryuji's social or confidant up to a certain level, you can just sort of run through shadows that are way below you.
Yeah, that would be huge because I get really bored fighting low enemy, like easy enemies.
Yeah, that would have been a great quality of life feature. I'm not 100% sure why they didn't incorporate that.
I think it would have cut a lot of, it would have made the game almost like too streamlined, I think.
I think that they could do it in a way that if they balanced the gameplay a little bit better, but it's very clear that they didn't do a whole ton of balancing in terms of like, okay, I'm on the first 5 levels of a Tartarus block and the enemies are not super hard actually at all. And then you get to the next 5 levels and you're like, okay, these are like regular enemies. And then you grind a little bit and then you come back and you're like, okay, I have to do all. It's not, if they made the enemies harder, if they made the game harder, if they made the game as hard as it was originally, maybe not as hard, but if they made it more difficult than 5, or Royal for that matter, I think that would be different. But unfortunately, they just made it super easy. I feel like, I guess it's my own fault. I'm playing on normal. I guess I could play on hard, but I don't know. I just feel like I get it. They want to bring people in and they don't want people to get frustrated with the game and quit. But it's like, you have to have a little more faith in your audience. I don't know. I just feel like it's too easy, like gameplay wise, like combat wise. But I do agree the balance of the social links is like really difficult. And I feel like even as someone who has played the game and understands when people are going to be where and when I'm not going to be able to see people, I'm still like, oh, I'm like, me and BB are only at like level 3 and it's like July and I only have so much more time with BB. You know what I mean? Like me and BB are not going to, which is funny because
in October
BB
are on level 1.
Well, it's funny because me and BB are, anytime I played Persona 3 Portable like twice, 2.5 times, I guess. And I was always able to max out BB really easily. And I don't know if it's because the female social links are a little bit different in Portable. Like if you're playing FemC, the social links are different. It's a lot easier to get everybody done. You don't really need, I mean, you do still need Genius and Queen Bee. Well, I don't know what Max Charm is for the male character.
Not called that. Yeah.
It's not called Queen Bee.
It's called
but if you
I think.
But if you have Queen Bee, you can you can get started with Yukari and Mitsuru, they're both locked out, but Fuka's not. And like there are other like certain social links you don't need anything at all. Like Akiko, Akiko you actually do need Charm. I think it's Akiko, not Yukari. It doesn't really matter. The point is that it feels a lot easier to just like be like boom, 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 boom. Whereas male, I'm like I'm eating my seafood. I'm eating my seafood. I'm eating my burgers. It's like I'm eating my Fuka burgers. Like I mean, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit harder for me because I have only played the male main character once, and that was a long time ago. So I don't remember what to do. I don't remember who to talk to. I don't remember what my stats need to be. There are certain characters that I'm like, I hate you so much, and I can't believe I have to do a social link with you. And it's so like, some of the answers, it's like, so like, I'm enabling you so hard right now. Like, I should not be telling you to pursue what you are currently pursuing because this is not only ethically wrong, it's also illegal.
But I need the 3 music notes so that I can be your friend. And then once we are best friends, never talk to you again.
Exactly. So I feel like there's just certain things that, I don't know. And like, there's no Koromaru social link, which is sad. I mean, yeah, you get to hang out with him, but in FemC's path, he has a whole social link. And...
Okay, I'm gonna say one straight up negative thing.
Is this the same thing you told me?
I don't remember.
Over text about Koromaru's
I
barking.
Would be so much happier with this video game if Koromaru the dog had dog sounds and not a man making bark sounds. There was a dramatic scene that I shall not specify where Kawamaru is supposed to be like frustrated, we'll say, and he goes "Ow," but it's a man going "Ow," and I'm like, well, that took me out of this moment pretty hard.
That is kind of crazy.
I'm like, why is it not just dog sounds? That would have cost you so much less than bringing in the voice actor.
Yeah.
And it would have been better.
I don't really understand that.
I will never be okay with. I think that is a bad decision that could have been very easily updated with Reload.
Okay, I'm just going to say that after the mascots we've gotten in the past 2 Persona games, I'm fine with Koromaru being a grown man.
I would rather Koromaru talk than say "Awoo."
I never want to hear Morgana's little ever again in my life. Okay? Not once ever again. I don't. I don't love Morgana at all. I don't love Teddy.
I love Koromaru more than I love, like, before I played this game. Because I was like, oh, he's so cute. And then I heard him in this game and I said, excuse me? Is that voiced by a man?
I just...
I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to dig too deep, but I don't like that.
I think that is very silly that he's voiced by a man, not a dog.
Just some guy.
Just a fella.
Kelly?
I just want to say one more thing.
I just want one more.
Kind of related. I feel like the voice cast in this game has done a really, really good job. I feel like they've really grown on me. And I feel like in some cases, I just feel like what they're delivering to the performance is like, it really freshens things up. I love Junpei's voice actor. I think he does such a good job with Junpei. I feel like I love Junpei so much more than I did when I played originally. And I actually really like Junpei a lot more on Femc's path because he's the Magician Arcana. He's the Magician Social Link, which is so much better than the Magician for the male MCs. Just throwing that out there. I also feel like I was, as someone, like I played the original, so you get so used to the voice cast of the original. I just feel like everyone, now when I think of the characters and like the way they talk, I think of them in their new voices.
That's big.
You know who else I really like? Shinji's voice actor, and Ken's. I love Ken so much more. Ken sounds like a child, not like a grown woman pretending to be a child. I'm so sorry to Ken's original voice actor. I love Fuka's voice. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I just feel like they've really done a great job and breathed new life into these characters.
Speaking of breathing new life into old materials.
Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second game in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, launched this last Friday. I got it. It's on PlayStation 5 only. Kelly didn't get it because she's a loser, so she's not allowed to talk.
That's true, actually.
So, what did I just say?
So sorry.
What did I just say? I'm glad that you settled that because, like, audio-wise, it might sound like I'm actually, like, being bad. Anyway, I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to start talking about my thoughts. This is a big game. This is probably one of the biggest games of the year. For context, I went to the GameStop to pick it up because I pre-ordered it because I was scared of not being able to get a physical copy. And I showed up at noon, right when it opened, and there were like 9 people waiting to get it. And I was like, geez. And then in my brain, I'm like, that means this is a big game because this many people showing up to buy it. That's crazy. In a physical store on a Thursday at noon. So I got it, brought it home, started it up. Well, that's not true. I let it install for hours because it's 140 gigabytes. And then the opening of this game really, really taught me what I was going to be dealing with. I'm not going to get specific because they have... I mean, if you watch the final trailer, my understanding is it spoils a whole lot. But if you haven't seen the final trailer, this game opens in a way that was not included in a lot of marketing. So I was really surprised by the direction they're going. They are clearly leaning into this like universes angle, like how this differs from the original, in what ways. It's super unclear what's going on. But then it leads into the Nibelheim incident, which is the flashback from the original game, is like a massive segment at the start of this game. The whole first chapter is this big flashback where you're hanging around Cloud's hometown with Sephiroth, who's a nice guy. You get to play as him, as Sephiroth, which is very, very fun. But it was a great start. I don't feel like I need to talk about the gameplay too much. The combat is the same as Remake, with some added flourishes, and it is incredible. You mash that square button to fling your sword or your fist or whatever your weapon is, depending on the character, and that charges up your active time battle meter, your ATB gauge. And when you get chunks of your ATB gauge, you can press X, and it pauses combat. Well, it actually explodes it to like 2% speed, so it looks cool because it's in super slow-mo.
It's like VATS.
It's like VATS, but way, way, way prettier than VATS. Yeah. Unbelievably prettier. But then you can do different attacks, different special abilities. It's such a satisfying system that is ripped straight from Remake, so it's just as good as it was there. Plus, they added new stuff because there's synergy attacks that you can do. So you team up with your buddies and you do little attacks. And after
That's
you
a Final Fantasy 13 thing.
It's like that, but way better than that. It is not anything like 13 synergies either. They just like the word. Kelly, stop thinking about Final Fantasy 13.
I literally can't now. Sorry.
The synergy attacks are just little things, little bursts that you do, but then you get full team attacks where you and another teammate will team up for the super cinematic attack. That's like a really cool cutscene that does a bunch of damage. When it introduces you to that mechanic, it's a Cloud and Sephiroth team attack, and it's just nuts. But you get to do it with all your teammates. You start this game off. Once you're out of the flashback and into the open world, you start with Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, Red 13, and Barret, which is the same crew that got out of Midgar at the end of Remake. So you can choose between those 5. Party of 3, which is a little disappointing. I know that's very faithful, but like, I really wish there was an easier way to switch between them, because you have a party of 3, and there is like a somewhat, if you go into your party settings and press the right bumper or left bumper, it'll switch to preset parties. But I really wish there was an option to switch parties on the field so that I didn't even have to go into a menu, because I want to play all the characters. I want to experience them. Red 13, this is the first time we've been able to play as him. Super cool. He's a dog, lion, hybrid thing. He's Red 13.
Ryuji.
He's voiced by Ryuji. He does not sound like Ryuji, though. Max Middleman has crazy range. Everything just feels incredible. I think the biggest surprise to me is Final Fantasy VII Remake is a linear game for the most part, with a few like side quests, but mostly it's linear. Lots of hallways and compartments, so the movement is kind of restrictive. The animations are very similar in this game, but you're in an open world and the movement is wide open. So you can move around, you can hop, you can skip, you can jump off things, and it looks a little silly because the animations are so true to life that it looks weird when he like hops off something and is like he just freaks out. And I'm like, I don't care though, because it feels good to play, and that's more important. And I'm very, very surprised that they were able to translate the very hefty linear Remake style into an open world successfully. And they did. It's really good, and it's shocking that it works. Because Remake is not an open world game. Remake is a great linear game. So I didn't know how they were going to translate, but they did. It works very well. You start off in Calm, which is a little town. The level of detail is mind-boggling. Like, it is so rich with detail. Nibelheim was the same way. It just blows my tiny little mind. And I really appreciated what they did. If you are a big fan of the original, the music's going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy. When you're out on the field, it has the open world music. And when you enter battles, it's still the open world music, but it's a battle version, and it just flows between them perfectly. You know, Square Enix is like really good at dynamic music. That's like one of their strong suits, and this game is showing it off so well. I got so excited when that happened. There's quite a few mini games. I've only done a couple, but there's clearly a lot going on. There's one called Queen's Blood, which is a card game, and it is fun, which is surprising because I don't usually like card games in my RPGs. I usually skip those, but it's quite fun. Simple enough that you can jump in, but clearly there's a lot going on. The visuals, oh my god, the visuals. This game is unbelievable to look at. It is stunning. The graphics are incredible. Truly, the level of animation and graphics is just like mind-boggling, especially because like I thought Final Fantasy 16 was peak, and this game's like, we win. I'm not going to talk about 16. I'm just going to say one more thing about 16. This game's open world is very fun, and the tasks don't feel too repetitive because of the way they're designed. I feel like poor 16. Like, with the context of this game now, shortly after 16, it's going to be hard to look at 16 without I was already pretty disappointed, but now that I have this game in my hands, I'm like, oh my goodness, my disappointment grew even more with 16. But it's okay because I'm playing Rebirth, and that's what matters. But the graphics are really, really incredible. This might surprise you, Kelly. I am playing on graphics mode at 30 FPS over performance.
Wow.
Andrew is not playing at 60 FPS.
Wow.
I love my frame rates, but 60 FPS mode is very soft. And they've been public about the fact that they're like, oh, we heard you. So I'm hoping that they have some patches in the near future that maybe make it less soft. I don't know what they're doing. I think the dynamic resolution is just really struggling, but the resolution is like really not great on performance mode. And the game performs so stably on graphics mode that I think it's worth the trade-off, in my opinion. Play it how you play it and see what you feel. I played on performance mode through the whole opening, and then when I got to calm, I really noticed how soft it was because of how much detail there was, and I was like, ooh, this is not doing it for me. So I switched over. It's an easy transition, though, because it feels like it's designed for 30, and 60 is a luxury, not a requirement. The story is so engrossing on its own, and also because of how curious I am of what they're changing. There's already some really intense implications in the first. I'm 6 hours into the game, and I'm only on the second chapter. There's a lot to do in the open world, so I think it'll take quite a while to play. I know friend of the show Cameron has played like 30 hours since release. I think that young man is going to finish that game before me. But
he's not a young man. He's an old man. He's an old fart.
Yep.
And I hope he hears this.
I mean, he will. He listens to the podcast, but the question is whether
I hope he doesn't fix his mouth to say something about it.
He's probably going to text us and be like, Kelly,
he's going to be like, why'd you call me an old fart?
That's a really good impression. But the game is just exceptional. I'm so engrossed by it. My biggest absolute major frustration with it is that it came out shortly after Persona 3, because I want to finish Persona 3. So I have been focusing on that still to make sure I get that game under wraps, underground. I'm trying to kill it and bury it.
And bear it?
I'm done. I'm so excited to play more of this game. The open world is really, really cool. It helps that the gameplay loop is like it's perfect. It's so good and satisfying. And the mechanics that they added are really interesting and fun. They add a lot of depth, while maintaining the best parts about Remake. Zack is in this game. I don't know much. I just know that.
Gongaga.
That could be in this game. I mean, it probably won't be, but...
What if you were Gongaga?
What if I was
then
gone? What? Gaga?
Gaga.
Your name's Gaga, and I'm asking you, what if I was gone? Gaga?
Gone.
I guess I'll wrap it up there, because I probably would play... I'm done with you.
Stop saying names. Stop it.
I guess it's not even a name.
I guess is a name, and you said it.
I am done.
I heard it.
Talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, even though I probably have heaps more to say about it. I already said okay, let's just do like the thing. Visuals, amazing. Music, amazing. Story, amazing. Gameplay, amazing. What other things are you supposed to talk about, Kelly? Performance, good, but I hope they fix the 60 FPS mode. What else? Voice acting, amazing. Like, really good. Oh my goodness. The way that the characters I guess I didn't talk about that. The way that the characters interact. It's also the writing. It's just so pleasant and cute and organic. Nah. Nah. There's a bit in the opening, because you're doing a flashback, and Cloud's telling his team about what they were doing, where you can go into Tifa's house, and she's like, and like her voice cuts in. She's like, "You went in my house?" And Cloud's like, "Yeah." And then you go up to her room, and she's like, "You went in my room?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then you go up to her closet, and she's like, "You looked through my stuff?" And you have the option to say no. And so I said no first. And she was like, "Good. That was a bad joke." And then I did it. And then Tifa and Aerith called me names.
Oh.
And I was like, this is great. It's just so charming and well acted and well written. And I'm just loving it. And I'm so excited to see where it goes. It's cool to have a game and maintain the level of excitement, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of games, even the ones I'm excited for, once they're in my hands, I'm like, I'm happy, but like I calm down a lot. Calm? Because that's the town you started.
Doesn't work.
I literally did the thing. No, I said the name of the town.
It's not the same.
Why is it not the same?
Because it's not the same. Me? Gone gaga.
My face is red with rage. Red 13?
Oh, no. It would have been different if you were like, my face is red 13 with rage. Like, that would have been funny.
I hurt my teeth. All
right.
Well, the airth really thick in this room.
All right, come on. It actually is. The air is quite thick out right now. It's quite foggy.
The airth?
The air is thick. Get it? It's like I'm saying it.
Stop.
Thanks everybody so much for
there's a really strange storm cloud. Ooh, I got a good one. Wow, this scenario really reminds me of Sephiroth. I feel like I couldn't top Aerith. Aerith was
everybody so much for listening to this week's episode. We so appreciate you and your listenerhood, and we hope you're having a great day and a great week.
Aerith full of tension right now.
It's like someone taking your beautiful painting and just like ripping it and cracking it on their knee and going, rah!
Oh,
you know?
Barrett.
Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week. Bye.